So here's a quick scenario. You're sitting in your truck after the appointment and you know that you did everything right and they liked you and you liked them, and then the numbers came out and something really shifted in that room and you couldn't really get it back. They said that they think about it, and we pretty much both know what that already means. I've been in marketing since 2003 and I've sat on hundreds of calls with contractors over the years. And that specific feeling of losing a deal and finding no fingerprints on it comes up more than almost anything else. And this one's not really a lead problem, because the same 10 leads can turn into one client or 3 clients. This one's like a psychology problem disguised as sales. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I'm really obsessed with understanding human behavior, because it really unlocks a whole new level of wealth creation. Because see, you didn't really lose that deal on the price, you lost it long before the price ever came out of your mouth. And that reason has nothing to do with your work or your number, and it has everything to do with a calculation that's actually happening inside of the homeowner's head, and you probably never even knew that that was a factor. And that factor has a name, and it's called value perception. Once you understand how it actually works, every appointment you have moving forward will look different. So here's the equation. Every buying decision that a human being makes runs through the same calculation. The brain weighs the benefits that they expect to receive against the total cost that they expect to pay automatically, without the person even knowing that it's happening. And when the benefits feel much bigger than the cost, they buy. When the cost feels bigger, they don't. It's pretty simple on paper, but here's where most contractors are actually completely blind. That cost is never just about the money. When Mary is sitting across from you trying to decide, she's not doing math. She's feeling risk. The risk of living in a construction zone for 3 months with the kids in her house. The risk of trusting a complete stranger with the home that her family sleeps in every night. The risk of being the one who needs to explain herself to her husband when she made the wrong decision and things go sideways. That price on your proposal is just a number, but the cost in her head is an entire emotional weight where everything pretty much could go wrong. And the benefits aren't just like that finished deck or a remodeled kitchen. They are literally the life that she imagines on the other side of this decision. Saturday mornings outside with a coffee, the neighborhood cookout at her house, walking into a space that finally looks the way that she always wanted. That's what she's actually buying, and that's what has to outweigh the cost. So pretty much the updated equation is this: value perception equals the benefits felt over the total cost felt, and everything you do is moving one of those 2 levers, whether you know it or not. So let's bucket all this psychology into 6 levers that you can pull, and the ones actually on the cost side are where you're losing deals you don't even know that you should have won. Lever 1, the brand before you. The calculation starts before you ever knock on that door. Think about a Lambo for a second. 2 seconds and anyone on the street can tell you what they think about when they hear that name. You think about speed, money, status, a certain kind of life. The brand did decades of work, and your brain is already preloaded with the value of this purchase. Now, ask a homeowner what they think about when they hear ABC Decks or XYZ Construction. Pretty much nothing, blank. A contractor with no brand spends the first 20 minutes of every appointment just trying to establish that he's legit. And by the time he gets to actually showcase his work, he's already behind. Now, on the other hand, the contractor with a brand, they're gonna walk in warm. The homeowner already Googled him, they already saw the reviews, they already saw his ads on social media, they already noticed his trucks around town, maybe already heard his name from a neighbor. That benefit side of the equation had weight on it before anyone even sat down. One of our clients was operating as first-rate construction. Pretty much sounds like a handyman service. We rebranded him to Bridge Remodeling, and then the appointments changed soon after. He went from $400K a year to $1.2 million in 9 months. Same craft, but a completely different equation before he even opened his mouth. Moving on to lever 2, sell the believable dream. Abstract benefits weigh nothing. Vivid benefits feel enormous, but vivid without proof makes the cost feel higher, not lower. You've probably fallen in love with cars you've never driven. I've probably sat on countless car configurators at 2 o'clock in the morning picking stitching colors for seats I really couldn't afford. And they pretty much sold us on a dream without us ever sitting in on one. And they did it by making the benefits so vivid that the costs almost didn't matter. Now, in the real world, most contractors just show up with an iPad and ask, so what are you thinking for the project? And that's not the process of selling a dream, that's pretty much taking an order. That's what waiters do. Your move has to be different. You show up with a catalog and ideally some tangible stuff, right? Like some decking material, something, right? And you treat it like a configurator. You let her pick the material, the railing, the lighting, the finish on the post. You show her photos of those exact choices sitting in other people's backyards. And while she's looking, you paint the life around it. Saturday morning coffee on this deck, the kid's birthday party next summer, the neighbors walking over and saying, oh man, I wish I had that. But there may be a small problem. She's heard that vivid picture before. 2 of the last 3 contractors at her kitchen table painted one too, and one of them disappeared with the deposit. So every promise that you make doesn't just land on a benefit side, it also lands on the cost side as risk. That's why that portfolio matters. After the dream, you have to back up your claims with proof. Real photos of real finished projects on a tablet, right? Yes, you flip through them with her and you just ask her one question. Which one of these comes closest to what you're picturing? And watch what happens. She's going to stop evaluating and she's actually going to start choosing. And right there, she's moved from prospect to participant. Every silent fear she walked in with gets answered without a word about it. Level 3, set the standard. Now, obviously, Mary is going to get other quotes after yours. You can't put their proposals on the table yet because they don't exist. But you can do something that's way more powerful. You can define the terms and comparisons that Mary will use to judge all future contractors. All you have to do is hand her your 1-pager evaluation checklist, and then you pretty much explain what it all means. It mentions services, it mentions reviews, cleanups, project updates, personal behavior, timelines, warranty, certifications, pretty much everything that she cares about already. Then you tell her, if you're looking at other quotes, here's what you want to see on them. If any of these things are missing or they're vague, ask why. 2 days later, when Bob the contractor shows up, well, Mary is the one that's noticing what's missing because you literally put that measuring stick in her hand. You never even had to say his name. You didn't really need to. Carter, one of our clients, was 21 when we met him, right? He was building decks out of his parents' basement, and he told me that homeowners looked at him like they weren't even really sure that he's running a real business. He pretty much discounted every bid to win work, which pretty much kept him busy but also broke. 9 months after we fixed that standard, he'd done $1.5 million in revenue. This year, we're looking at $5 million in revenue. In March, in 1 month alone, he sold 650 grand worth of work. 1 month pretty much surpassed what he did 1.5 years back in the whole year. Pretty much the same kid, but a completely different equation. Now, quick thing, if you find this valuable, hit subscribe because the next part is the cost side of the equation, and that's where most contractors are bleeding out without even knowing it. So moving on to level 4, conviction at the number. Everything so far has been about loading up on the benefit side, but now the price comes out, and here's what most people don't really understand about that moment. Her brain doesn't just evaluate that number, it evaluates how you say it. Watch a salesperson at like Rolex or Ferrari or whatnot. They're not apologizing for the price, they're not offering discounts before anyone asks, and they're not listing everything that could go wrong with the product. They're standing in front of something they believe in completely, and that belief comes through in every part of how they carry themselves. Now, watch a contractor who underpriced his own job. Somewhere underneath, he knows that his margin is too thin, and one bad week pretty much could put him in a hole. You know, his voice goes up at the end of the sentence when he says that number, kind of like he's asking the question. Then he volunteers exclusions that nobody asked for. And then at the first sign of hesitation across the table, he just drops that price on his own. Now, Mary is reading all of that as data. The contractor who flinches at his own price is a risk, and she doesn't really know what's wrong, but something just feels off and she can't unsee it. Because your conviction reduces the perceived cost. And conviction is a byproduct of one thing: your math being real. Your confidence and certainty in completing the job well are earned in that back office before you even show up at that kitchen table. All right, moving on to level 5, match the gas to the ride. Now, the cost side gets really brutal. You went into that appointment and loaded up all of those benefits: brand, dream, proof, standard, conviction, And then the job starts, and the experience she gets is nothing like the experience that you sold. And this is not because you lied or anything, because you priced the job like a Prius and promised the ride of a Lambo. Margins at 8% with no room for anything to move. Week 1, materials come in over budget because, I don't know, lumber moved, right? Week 2, a sub no-shows, right? And you have to pay now a premium to keep the schedule. Week 3, a change order you should have charged for now gets eaten because you don't want to have that conversation. Now the job is upside down, the payroll is on Friday, and you reach into the deposit for the next job to cover this week. That's pretty much robbing Peter to pay Paul, and once you pretty much start that cycle, you're in it. The next job starts underwater. Same thing happens, 6 months in, and you've got 3 jobs running and every one of them is funding the other 2. Our client Dylan came out of something very, very similar. He was grinding 16-hour days, doing 400 grand a year, and keeping almost nothing. Taking every freaking job at whatever price wanted, and delivering more than the price could support every single time. Busy and broke. 8 months after we fixed the math, actually pricing what the Lambo costs to deliver, he tripled his revenue to 1.2 million. Same guy, same craft, same market, just completely different math. You either sell the Lambo and charge Lambo money, or you sell the Prius and charge Prius money. Both are very real businesses, right? The disaster is believing one on the budget of the other. So knowing your numbers isn't just a nice to have, it's a must have. All right, so now let's move on to lever 6, which is chunking the cost. This is the part where we start messing with perceptions a little bit. Nobody walks into a Lamborghini dealership asking if they can afford a $200,000 car. They are asking themselves if they can afford the $2,400 a month financing. Same car, different question. The number didn't change, the frame around it did, and that frame is literally everything. When Mary hears 80 grand, her brain already starts reacting before her actual thinking starts. And your job in that moment is to change the frame before the flinch hardens into a decision. You chunk it down. 80 grand financed is maybe 1,100 a month, less than her car payment, for a space that the family is going to live in every single day. It's a no-brainer. Then you can play some more and maybe start chunking up some of the benefits, like what does this remodel add to the house in terms of resale value? What are those summers worth to her family in the backyard they actually want to be in? The number hasn't moved a dollar, right? The cost just got smaller and the benefits just got bigger simultaneously without changing anything except the frame. Just playing with perception, we can help people help themselves. This isn't about being salesy or manipulation, right? This is about helping people get what they want. Do you really want the homeowner to be screwed by chucking a truck, or do you actually want to set that standard? You literally owe it to the homeowner to sell the job and give them their dream. If the sale doesn't happen, there's no dream becoming real. So I think it's appropriate that we finish this one off by talking about the mirror. Here's the thing I want to leave you with, and this is why I said at the beginning of this video that this is more than just the homeowner. Everything I walked you through is also happening to you right now, every day, and most contractors will never see it. The biggest investment that you'll make this year isn't in a truck or a piece of equipment, it's actually marketing. And the first time that someone actually quotes you what real marketing actually costs, you're going to have the exact same reaction as Mary had when she heard your 80 grand proposal. Your stomach drops. That's insane. That's a year of payroll. That's the cost side of the equation. Crushing the benefit side before you even thought this whole thing through. Pretty much the same brain, same automatic calculation, and pretty much the same miscalculation. So let's actually run the real math. 180 grand a year in marketing is about 15 grand a month. Still feels pretty big, but if we break it down even further, it's about 500 bucks a day. Now, if a qualified lead costs you 500 bucks, that's one lead a day, 30 leads in a month. If your close rate is at 20%, that's 6 jobs. With an average job at like 35 grand, your monthly revenue is going to be $210,000. Now, all of that is marketing sitting at a 7% of revenue, which is pretty healthy for a remodeler or a deck builder. And over the year, that 180 grand turns now into $2.5 million in revenue. Funny enough, the initial number didn't even move, only the frame did. It's kind of like, what are you actually focusing on? Are you focusing on building a life of freedom, Or are you sobbing over that cost that the top 1% don't even register as cost? I've yet to find an investment that outperforms the investment that one makes in their own business. If the S&P 500 gives you like a 10% return annually over time, investing in your own business has the potential to 30x that, if not even more. Our client Luan ran this equation correctly when almost no contractor would have, right? When we told him that he is going to need like 100 grand to start building that marketing machine that would take over his market, that number would stop pretty much most contractors cold. But Luan didn't flinch. He asked one question: if this works the way that you are saying it works, how many jobs do I need to close to justify it? And we ran the math. He saw the cost in real terms, not emotional terms. He signed, and now fast forward 4 years, in 2025, Tech Bros generated $15 million in revenue, with more of 20% of that being net profit. Because obviously revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. So we're definitely making sure that we're making money in the process. At the end of the day, marketing is just perception. Same as the homeowner sitting across from you. It's the same fear, it's the same brain, it's the same equation. The contractor who understands how value perception works, who can see both sides clearly, who can frame the benefits and costs with intention, is going to make completely different decisions than the one who can't. It doesn't matter if we're talking about sales appointments or decisions in his own business. That's what was happening in that room when you lost that deal and you couldn't really explain why. And now you know. So I'll see you in the next one.